Correct.
Dave, mate, happy birthday. Can you talk us through your morning? No doubt that the girls have already been on the phone or on the FaceTime.
Yeah, I managed to get a hold of them last night before going to bed. Generally, I'll stay up till about 11:30, and they'll call me before they start their day. So last night I got my rendition of Happy Birthday, and yeah, now the lovely wife's got them at swimming lessons. So Candace doing all the heavy lifting.
Do you feel 35?
No. I actually forgot I was turning 35. I don't feel it at all. From my perspective, I think, you only get older if you're not staying fit, and I feel like I am. I'm still fit to go, and from my perspective, I've got a lot of time left in these legs, especially I've got 3 kids I've got to look after as well, so I need to be fit.
Luke Dufficy.
Thanks, Cole. Happy birthday, Dave. Obviously, being away from your family, it's been a tough time as well for you on the field. How difficult has it been with the not playing a lot, and then also struggling when you have played, plus not having the family there?
Yeah, thanks for your question. From my perspective, I don't think I actually think people talking about my form is quite funny. I laugh at the matter because at the end of the day, I've played hardly any cricket, and then with that opportunity with the IPL, for example, had 2 games, and then basically wanted to, give all the other youngsters a crack and whatnot. So from my perspective, that's fine. And in warm-up games, they're warm-up games for a reason. The other day was sort of got my benchmark sort of back as where I should be at with my feet and everything. We're practicing a lot, as much as we can to get out there and perform. I think one thing that should be noted is these practice wickets, for example, have been up and about for close to 12 weeks now. So training's quite difficult on them as well, considering that the wickets are quite good at the moment. I think Sharjah is obviously low and slow. So it's obviously very hard to, when you're not getting time in the middle, through obviously some, dismissals either out of your control, which generally happens in cricket. You got to try and make the most of training, and it's quite difficult to get that. So at the moment, I'm training on some synthetic wickets and polished concrete to get timing and rhythm and moving my feet. So that's helping me.
David Mark.
Thanks, Cole. Thanks, David. Look, I just want to ask you a couple of questions, but the first one, I suppose, could I get your reaction to the decision by Quentin de Kock to pull out of the match between South Africa and the West Indies over the edict from the Cricket South Africa that all the players had to take a knee?
Yeah, look, obviously that's, from my perspective, I can't talk about what's happening in their camp, but obviously in my opinion, for us at home, we take part in the Barefoot Circle, and we recognise our Indigenous peoples and condemn racism globally. So from our stance, we respected the decision of the opponents, and we will take, the captains will obviously talk about it before we go out to play, and we'll take a knee as well, and we will reciprocate. So that's my stance. I can't go into obviously the South African administration making their team take a knee. So yeah, from there, that's obviously their decision, each individual's decision to do that.
Yeah. So the entire Australian team takes a knee. Was that a decision by the team or the individuals? And has there been any edict from Cricket Australia?
Yeah, it is. It's a team thing. So for us, we do that. And as I just said, we acknowledge it and we'll reciprocate. 2 captains get together, and if the opponents want to take the knee, we will always acknowledge that and respect that.
Just very briefly, has there ever been an edict from Cricket Australia asking you to do it or not do it?
No, not from my knowledge.
Josh McLean.
Davey, there's already reports that Big Bash League teams are chasing Quinny, thinking that they could probably get him for Christmas if he doesn't play much international cricket. Would you like to see him play in Australia?
That's fast. Is that predicting that he's going to leave South Africa? Is it? Yeah, look, obviously he'll be great for the Big Bash. If that opportunity was there for him, I'm sure he might take that. There's obviously a lot of other leagues around the world that other South African players are participating in. I think T10 is one of them. So that's obviously the decision for each individual, but it would be good for any international player to come down to Australia and participate.
And just on your partnership with Finchy, I know you haven't played a lot of cricket the last year or two. It's hardly your fault that we've probably struggled at the top of the order for the last couple of years. But how important is it for you guys to get a big partnership at some stage? Because I know it hasn't happened for a while.
Yeah, look, it seems like it almost seems like we're in retirement and we've come back the time that we've had off. So from as I said it before, from our perspective, the wickets have been challenging to train on. So hence why I've gone onto synthetic and polished concrete. And I think Finchy did the same thing the other day. And it's just all about getting your feet moving again. Because when you're practicing on, low wickets that aren't great and pretty, it sort of gets you in the sticky positions when you're into the game and you're playing on better wickets. So you've got to get your brain working again, with your feet and your hands, you get into good position. So, we've just started that again, and we're looking forward to getting out there, and the wickets in the middle in Dubai Cricket Stadium look good.
Scott Bailey.
Dave, you mentioned training on the AstroTurf there, or the Simpo. Was that a decision you all made? And sort of, I guess, is that a regular thing to try and make that decision going into a big World Cup, or was it just solely on, the way the practice wickets were?
Yeah, look, from my perspective, I brought it up with our batting coach, and my actual batting coach at home, Trent Woodhill, flicked me a text and just said to me, try and get back on the syntho again and get your feet moving. It's something I've done at home before. It's one of those things that you want to feel bat on ball, you want to feel good, but it also makes you start moving your feet a little bit more because, as I said before, it's difficult to get in positions where we're so used to the ball coming onto the bat. And when you're doing that and you're moving, you start dancing in the game. So it's not so much. It's hard to explain it from a cricketer's point of view. We understand a little bit more, but if you don't get your feet into the right positions and your weight moving forward through the ball, and you're practicing bad habits at training because you're not able to get that volume in, you have to go back to what you do and the basics. And for me, that's about getting back on, getting the ball back on the bat. So a bit of pace onto the ball, and also it speeds up quite a lot more off the wicket. So when you're coming up against guys like the other game, Rabada and Norkie, this game, Kamira as well, he's quite a fast bowler as well. So it gets your feet moving and gets you in the right positions.
And can I ask you guys rarely play Sri Lanka. Like, I feel like they're one of the teams you guys don't play a lot of, but do you take much matchup confidence from what you're able to do to them in 2019? Like, you scored a stack of runs, didn't get out in that series from memory. Is that something you take into it, or is it because you play them so rarely, it's not something you can do?
Yeah, look, each opposition we obviously respect, and we do a lot of a lot of video analysis as well. So I like to look at certain bowlers where they bowled a certain left-hand batters, for example, what fields they set. Obviously, each case is different. So, I've got to sort of in my mind what they're trying to do. The other day I saw their bowlers swing the ball early, and then they bash the length as well. So with the guys that have a bit of pace. So for me, it's about identifying that wicket suited that kind of bowling. So come to Dubai Cricket Stadium as well, it's going to be a little bit different. Bigger boundaries, so they might, just pitch the ball short. They will obviously try and swing the ball to start with, but we have played against a lot of these guys as well. So, you try and take that form from last time in 2019 and work out how you built your innings. In Australia, it's a little bit different. The boundaries are bigger. So it's about trying to get back into that rhythm of identifying what you did well against certain bowlers and try and take that out into the field.
Thanks.
Andrew Wu.
Woo Burger.
How are you? Happy
Good, mate.
birthday.
Thank you, pal.
Hey, a question just on, you're talking before about your form and how you don't feel like you're out of form. I think in the Ashes in 19, you said you were more out of runs and you were out of form. Is that the case now? And also, did you feel like in that innings against South Africa that you're not far off it?
Yeah, no, 100%. At the end of the day, you can't control how you get out, right? But if you're getting out in ways where, your head's up and you're playing a shot that you wouldn't play, these are the things you look for signs of being out of form. The way I got out the other day, if you look back at the history of my 2020 career, that is just how I normally used to get out all the time, is my weight back a little bit forward on a slow wicket. Normally I would hit that over, say, cover region, but it was his last over. Those things were coming into my mind as well. So I was respecting that third over he was bowling. And I should have, in hindsight, I look back, I should have actually played that over top. And I didn't. And obviously I fended it and pushed it to backward point. So that's a thing for me to go back and look and go, well, hang on, my feet were moving. I got into great positions. But my awareness should have been go with it. So that's where I feel like at the moment I am. So I feel like I'm in a good space. I'm hitting the ball well at training in the nets. Couldn't be any more ready to go. And, I felt the other day I was one boundary away from actually having a good innings. And when I got that first boundary and I played that snap pull shot, my feet were dancing and moving, which obviously helped from my training.
Confident a big score might be as far away as just next game tomorrow night, or?
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think we players need to, talk more about in these situations in World Cup formats, right? Individuals have to play their roles, right? So it's not necessarily a big score. It's how you get 20, how you get 30, how you get 40. And then if you do get that big score, obviously it puts you in a great position. Everyone's got their role, right? So if you get 25 off, 8 balls or whatever it is, and 5 or 6 guys get that, you're playing your role, if that makes sense. So you just got to make sure that you're not soaking up too many balls. And that's what I always emphasize to batters in teams, is that don't soak up too many balls and try and have a good strike rate, especially when you're batting at the top of the order.
Thanks, mate.
Russell Gould.
G'day, Dave. Just a quick one back on the wickets you've been practicing on. Do you have to find those polished concrete wickets? Obviously, the synthetic wickets would be plentiful at the Cricket Academy there. Do you have to go find them? And what sort of bowling? Is it throwdowns, bowling machine? I'm not sure you can get blokes coming in bowling it to you on the polished concrete.
Well, the polished concrete as well is at the Gabba, so that's why we like to use that as well. Now we have an exceptional training facility here and in Abu Dhabi. Like the facilities are ridiculous, and out the front of the ground that we played India on the warm-up game, there's actually like a huge, like a mini cricket polished concrete net, which is outdoor. And then you have synthos, which are just being redone. So we couldn't get out there yesterday, but today I'll be on those polished concretes. I'm sure good old Cole might take some footage and then pass it out there so you guys can have a look. But I get some wangers. Generally, they're quite sharp, about 135 to 145. So it's all about getting, the rhythm and getting into right positions, because that's what's going to happen in the game. So it's hard to get the ball to bounce as high on these wickets that are low and slow. So it's just one of those things that, as I said before, you can actually play proper shots and train as best you can, getting ready for the game.
Louis Cameron.
Hey, Dave. Happy birthday, mate. Looking ahead a little bit further to the Ashes, have you thought about who might open the batting with you?
Not as yet. I was just actually watching the New South Wales game closely. Looks like a nice one in the mist, nice and green. Look, yeah, I think obviously, I spoke about last time with Joe Burns and obviously made headlines. So I've got to be very careful here. I think, at the end of the day, it's the selectors obviously will pick, I think, the person or the people who are informed. They'll bring it down to who they think are the right, probably 2 or 3 candidates, and then they'll make their decision. I think, looking back, obviously Puck was in waiting, obviously hurt his shoulder, which is unfortunate. He's a hell of a player. He's primed and right for international cricket. So, if I was to make a judgment call, I'm pretty sure he might be the first person who's on the top of their list.
If he wasn't fit enough and you had to maybe pick Usman or even Marcus Harris, would it be a risk to go in with 2 lefties, just given the success, I guess, Broad in particular had against your lefties and you as well last time around?
Yeah, I think Australia's different when it comes to left-hand batting and obviously the opposition. I think we've batted so much in Australia that we know the conditions. I can't see, the ball reacting off the wickets like they did in England. In Australia, obviously, you can leave a lot of the balls on length, where in England, those length balls are generally hitting the top of the stump. So doesn't worry me too much if it's two left-handers or two right-handers or a right and left. So I think whoever the selectors decide to choose, if they want to go that way, they'll obviously pick. I feel like the person who's in form.
Thanks, Dave. Cheers.
Just a couple more left here, guys. Matthew Forrest.
Thank you. Happy birthday, David. Just on the Ashes, Ben Stokes obviously recently announced he'll make the trip across. Has there been any discussion within the camp about his inclusion? And what are your initial thoughts about the announcement?
No, not at all. There's not been much discussion, obviously due to it being a 2020 World Cup. What I'd like to say first is it's great to see him back. Obviously, it takes a lot of courage to speak up, and what he's been through in the last sort of 12 months from highs. And obviously the sadness of his father passing away. It's always tough to put yourself in someone's shoes who's going through that. But in his recent statement, it was awesome for him to come out and actually speak to someone, get help, take time away from the game, and make it the right call to come down to Australia. And I think he's a competitive cricketer. He's an outstanding. I feel like he's an outstanding person. I've played with him in Durham. He's a competitive guy, and you want the best team to partake as much as you can. And I'm glad that he's made a decision to come back and come down under. And it obviously adds strength to the England camp. It would have been great for him not to be there. But I'm just glad for his mental state that he's back up and running and playing the game that he enjoys and loves.
Josh McLean.
Davey, I was just going to mention about the opening stuff in the T20 World Cup. Matty Wade's opened a fair bit last couple of years. If at some stage he was required, do you think he'd be up to doing the job if either yourself or Finchy were to shuffle?
Yeah. If that was the case, yeah, it probably would be, or not too sure how to answer that question. Obviously, the order's in the order that it is for a reason. I don't know how it would change, or if it did change, if someone got injured. Yeah, he would be able to do the job.
All right, then. That's good.
Last one here, guys. Over to Raj.
Hi, thanks, Cole. Hi, Dave. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
You just mentioned about missing out on a couple of games in IPL. I just want to find out, have the pitches changed a lot from that IPL to this World Cup? And some of the bowlers have said that it has actually helped them a lot playing that IPL. But with batters, it's been a bit different. So what do you reckon? Even you think it was probably not a great idea to play the IPL, or you think it would have helped you?
I don't think that's the right way to put not playing the IPL. The IPL had to be finished and was obviously going to be played here regardless. And I think it actually helps, always going to help you playing on the venues that obviously you're going to be coming up and playing on. From my perspective, there was a lot more grass left on the bye wicket. So that's why you saw a lot of early wickets in the IPL. When it came to Sharjah, recently relayed surface, it's low and slow. That's a difficult wicket to play on. Where the last time they played here, 220 and 230 was getting chased down. So that's different. The Abu Dhabi wicket stayed pretty much the same. It's always a great wicket up there, or great block. But yeah, I think it's helped a lot of people. Definitely, obviously, the bowlers have taken a lot more wickets, but I think that's due to the fact that the Dubai wicket is that kind of wicket that it suits the taller bowlers, because when you bowl a good length, it sort of skids. It doesn't take off like that, if that makes sense. And there's a bit of movement off the wicket, especially with the new ball. So I think the bowlers have found the right length to bowl on this surface, and they haven't steered away from that. And that's, as an opening batter, you've got to obviously have the right technique as well to try and negate that. And that's why you probably see a few wickets falling early with some nicks and stuff like that.
I could just check one more with you. Sri Lanka depends heavily on the spinners, and they've got this one new player who's supposed to be the mystery spinner. What is your view on these mystery spinners? Do you think, is there any mystery there at all, or is it just a lot of hogwash?
I haven't really. I've seen some of the footage, but I like the word mystery spinner because there's everyone, like Nareen's a mystery spinner. was it Jinta Mindiz as well? He was a mystery spinner. You get to face these guys. Rashid Khan, same thing. You know, these guys are just skillful. I wouldn't call them mystery spinners. Chakrawarti is another good inclusion for India. It's just, you just got to obviously watch their hand closely. And under lights, that's a difficult thing to do. You don't get to see the seam. So from a batter's perspective, it's about applying pressure like you normally do to any bowler. And we know coming up against subcontinent teams, they like to play 2, if not 3 spinners against us, which we're ultimately prepared for. We do so much work on facing spin in the nets, and especially on slow, low wickets. That's the other part to what I was saying before about me with fast bowlers practicing on polished concrete wickets, is that when it comes to spin, these are the perfect wickets to practice that on, and just holding your shape. So from our perspective, we're prepared.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, Raj, and thanks, David, for again joining us on his birthday. So we'll wrap it up there, guys. Thanks so much for coming along today, and we'll catch up with all you guys a little later on.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Cole. Thanks.